So I hope you guys had a good dinner. Welcome back. A couple of short matters of business that I didn't get to say before we started dinner. Actually, before I started dinner, I was going to say get to know your table mates and share some stories. So I hope everyone met some new friends. We'd like to recognize our sponsors for this evening: Stabilis Capital, Afghanistan National Bank, Dr. Sherry Ann Strawn. Sorry, I've lost the rest of my list. One moment, I'm so sorry. I'm back. Okay, Dr. Sherry Ann Strawn, Masura Sultan, Lale Bashirzad and Neil Foster, Abigail Disney and Pierre Hausner, Christy and John Mack, the Hagati family, Sunita Viswanath and Stephen Shaw, the Wallace Fox Foundation, Marsha Hamlin and Dennis Tracy. So thank you, everybody. I'd like to now introduce Sunita Viswanath, Suni as we call her so lovingly, is co-chair of our board for Women for Afghan Women, co-founder, of Women for Afghan Women. In 2011, she co-founded another grassroots organization, Sadhana Coalition of Progressive Hindus. In 2015, Suni was honored at the White House as a champion of change. But Suni is our champion of change, and we literally would not be here without her. Please welcome Suni.
This is a piece of my heart. And when we started, way before 9/11, a year before 9/11, something was brewing. We called ourselves Women for Afghan Women in April of 2011, full 6 months before 9/11. But in those early days, we just had conviction and passion and just a complete tenacity for justice. And our hearts, our beating hearts. And here we are 16 years later. I just don't know what to say. It's a miracle to me that the ragtag group of volunteers that came together in the years 2000 and 2001 grew into this room. It means that anything is possible. And we need every one of us in this room to stand together. We don't know what's coming. We really don't know what's coming in Afghanistan. We don't know what's coming in this country. We don't know how bad things are going to get. Yes, we hope we'll ride this through, but it could get worse. And what Women for Afghan Women needs, requests humbly, is your solidarity. In as hard as times get, we need you. So please stand with us. As a Hindu activist, I have worked hard in these recent months leading up to the election and after the election to include a Hindu voice in the resistance to the current anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim climate. I'm convinced that Dr. Debbie Almantasser is a magician, and she has the powers of Hermione Granger in Harry Potter, because everywhere I go, she's there. And when I'm not there, she's like live streaming on my Facebook. So she's just everywhere at the same time. Debbie. If it's a meeting or a rally or a vigil or an event, there she is. And the thing is, she wasn't just there for Muslim women. And if she was just there for Muslim women, that would be fine by me. But you are there for Black Lives Matter, when Jewish community centers are being targeted and vandalized, you're there for anti-Semitism. You're there for climate change. You're there for women's rights and LGBTQ rights. You're just there for humanity. You're there for justice. And that's why I consider you my sister. At a vigil that I organized for a Hindu, Srinivas Kuchibotla, who was murdered because he was mistaken for an Arab, not only did Debbie come and stay the whole night in the freezing cold, she live streamed that whole event for us. And it means we have the event documented because, of course, we didn't do that. The crown jewel of Debbie's activism in these months was the Yemeni bodega strike in downtown Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn, and I was there with my family. I'll leave it to Debbie to tell you more about that historic event. She was the mastermind and the architect behind that strike. But what I will say is that we all know, if we just think about it, we all know what an incredible act of courage and patriotism it is for 6,000 Arab American men from one of the countries targeted by the Muslim ban and the current anti-Islamic hate crimes that are going on, to sacrifice a day's earnings and come out into the streets to say, this is our home. Debbie has walked the path of justice for a very long time. The very first day I met Debbie was the Sunday after 9/11, when we were together. Women for Afghan Women was brand new. It was a baby organization. And Debbie and the baby Women for Afghan Women, the few of us, we marched down Atlantic Avenue in a march, a peace rally, and a vigil it was a march for justice and peace and to hold up an interfaith unity in the days after 9/11. That was the day I met Debbie. And Debbie has marched with us on that path to justice from that day till this day. When I told Debbie that our women in Women for Afghan Women in the days after this election that we just went through wanted to join the Women's March in D.C., she was the one who said, I will come. I'll come and talk to your women. And she did come, and she bonded with us. She educated us. She empowered us and helped us prepare for that special day of solidarity in which our new slogan, Afghan Women Rising, was born. I'm so honored that we've been on this journey to justice with Dr. Debbie Almontasser for 16 years. And it is with deep love that I invite my sister to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and greetings. It is such an honor and privilege to be here tonight, and especially to have Sunita introduce me in that way was just very touching and heartwarming. And I have to say, now I truly understand the heart and soul of Women for Afghan Women. Through the hospitality and the incredible, incredible heartfelt love that they're giving each and every one of us tonight, I truly feel so inspired. And I'm so honored and humbled to be here tonight and joining you to celebrate this incredible organization that has saved so many lives. As Sunita has mentioned, she and I met in the days after September 11th, on that incredible Sunday afternoon where we were walking together in solidarity. I will never forget that day. None of us will ever forget September 11th. But the healing and the love that took place after September 11th really set the stage for where we are today. I also had the extraordinary opportunity to meet Masuda in the months after September 11th, when she came back from Afghanistan to share the beautiful story of the Afghanistan people. It was incredible to see the courage that she displayed to go to her home country and come back and share with the world what is actually happening there. And more recently, I had the wonderful opportunity, as Sunita mentioned, to meet Women for Afghan Women when I heard that they wanted to go to the Women's March. They invited me to share with them what to expect and what they should do to prepare themselves. I was so honored to have that opportunity to get to meet these dynamic women who wanted to stand in solidarity with their sisters for a moment of defiance. These dynamic women showed strength, empowerment, and a commitment to unite against all injustices. Their personal stories touched my heart. Most of all, they reminded me that we have more in common than we ever thought. You see, my father arrived from Yemen in the 1960s. His brothers and cousins decided to open restaurants on Court Street and Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. However, my father decided to move to Buffalo, New York, and work for Ford Motor Company. A couple of years later, he sent for my mother and I. We arrived on a cold March night. I remember the next morning in my new home, I went to the window to see what America looked like. To my eyes' delight, all I saw was white everywhere. I started to dance around the house yelling, wake up, get the pots, get the pans to collect the sugar outside. This is America, where all your dreams come true. My father woke up chuckling and said, Habibti. That means my love in Arabic. It's not sugar, it's snow. I had no idea what he was talking about. I was just 3. He then opened the window. I felt it, and I still was not convinced. I tasted it, and to my disappointment, I learned it was ice water. That was my first cultural clash in the West. My distinguished brothers and sisters, my small, tight-knit community came to a new world, very different from their own homeland. Families feared greatly for their daughters, permitting them to only get an elementary education. You see, Afghan and Yemeni women have a lot in common. They culturally belong to conservative Muslim societies. I say culturally because Islam does not create these cultural barriers. Sadly, some men do. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ worked and interacted with women in the public square. Muslim women at that time were the teachers, the political advisors, and the generals on the battlefield. Muslim women's roles continued to evolve for centuries in Islam. What brought the progression to a halt was colonialism of Arab and Muslim countries. Sadly, the casualties to these hostile takeovers were children and women. Men feared for their daughters and wives from rape and abduction, and that led them to shelter them from society. This trauma, brothers and sisters, disenfranchised Muslim women for decades. Now back to my father. My father did fear for me, but he believed in the importance of education. My husband was no different. He supported me to become the first woman in the Yemeni community to attend college and become a career woman when it wasn't popular or fashionable. Because of his support, I am the first in both of our families and from our village in Yemen to earn a doctorate degree. Now, my sisters and brothers, young women in the Yemeni community are graduating from college and working in various professions. Though there were some in the Yemeni community who didn't see the value of education, as is the case in Afghanistan, years later, after September 11th, I became the community's go-to person. Much like how Women for Afghan Women has become a trusted organization so that even Muslim conservatives have embraced it, stand up for it, and for women's rights. Brothers and sisters, on January 27th, moments after the Muslim ban was signed, it was a day that devastated every Muslim, regardless of their home country. They knew their country may be next, which was a thought many of Women for Afghan Women felt. However, when they build walls, we build bridges. That same evening, Yemeni leaders began calling and texting me for answers. I simply had no answers, but I pulled myself together like everyone else that I knew who was feeling helpless and full of despair, and reassured them that we will get through this together. And I asked them to convene an emergency strategizing meeting on the Muslim ban the next day. I attended the meeting, and I was the only woman in attendance. Sadly, my sisters and brothers, this was due to the conservative cultural barriers Yemeni men and Yemeni professional women continue to deal with. In 2005, I helped found an organization called SEBA, the Association of Yemeni Americans, a nonprofit organization that is much like Women for Afghan Women. Sadly, in 2008, SEBA lost funding and folded a couple of years after I left to create the Khalil Gibran International Academy. My first opportunity to break this cultural barrier was with the Yemeni bodega strike. It would be a male-led effort on the outside, but it could not have happened without the support of Yemeni women. On the Monday after the Muslim ban, Yemeni merchants called me once again, saying to me they wanted to strike. The reason they wanted to strike was for the world to know they existed. And they wanted the world to know how they contribute day in and day out to this country. And they refused to live in the shadows. And when I asked them, when would you like to do this strike? They said to me, Thursday, which was February 2nd, which I said to them, are you crazy? That's 4 days away. But they were insistent, and I only felt a sense of social responsibility to help them. Right after our call, I called Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and I said to him, Eric, I need your help. The Yemeni community wants to hold a strike and rally this Thursday, and Borough Hall is where Yemenis first arrived and built their lives through restaurants and stores. Yemeni Every Yemeni knows Borough Hall as Barahol. To his surprise, he did not know this, and of course honored the opportunity to offer us Borough Hall to hold the rally. We worked day and night, and when the big day arrived, the bodega owners began to convene at 12:30 instead of 4:30. By 3 p.m., there were over 2,000 people. They were in the plaza, on the steps, and hanging, and I mean hanging, from the fringe dangling below the American flag. It was an incredible sight. By 5 p.m., there were over 6,000 people there. I was in tears to see my community in mass rising up against the Muslim ban. When they build walls, we build bridges. More importantly, that very day, on the steps of Borough Hall, the mic was equally occupied by Yemeni women's voices, a sound and image that chipped away at the decades of living in silos, similar to what Women for Afghan Women has done in the last 16 years. And today, it is a leading women's human rights organization and the largest women's organization in Afghanistan that deserves great support and praise. Since the Yemeni bodega strike, I have helped the bodega owners start the Yemeni American Merchants Association, a nonprofit organization to assist them and their families to make sure that they are well advocated for in the days and years to come. So tonight, my brothers and sisters, you all deserve great praise for being heroes that rise up to support such a courageous and visionary Afghan human rights organization. I want to thank you for continuing to stand with your Muslim and immigrant American brothers and sisters, to thank you for continuing to stand against the brutal Islamophobia that plagues our world and fuels our refugee crisis, that feeds the rise of fascism and domestic terrorism in so many parts of the world. I want to thank you for being here, for supporting this organization, and for supporting the existence for each and every person who is Muslim and who deserves to be respected with the respect and dignity. So I thank you, I thank you, I thank you all very much, and I wish you a wonderful night. And for women and for Afghan women, this was incredible. God bless you all, and may you continue to grow many, many folds. Thank you. How did you know? Sunita knows like I'm a jewelry diva.
But you can't wear this one.
No, I'm going to try to. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie and Sonny. I'd just like to recognize some dignitaries that are here with us tonight. Ms. Zubaida Safi Sadat, wife of His Excellency Sayyid Lutfullah Sadat, Consul General of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in New York. His Excellency Abdullah Sattar Haqbin, First Secretary at the Consulate General of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan in New York. His Excellency Nazifullah Salarzai, Minister, Deputy Permanent Representative at the Permanent Mission of Afghanistan to the United Nations. Her Excellency Lana Nosaibi, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the United Arab Emirates to the United Nations in New York. Mr. Hanif Yazdi, New York City Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, Organizing Field Manager. and Ambassador James Cunningham and his wife Leslie, and Leslie also is on our board. So thank you guys. I'd like to now introduce Masoura Sultan. Masoura has been with us since almost the beginning. She was our first staff member and is a long-time board member. Masoura has been working on the economic and political empowerment of Afghan women through a variety of roles. She is an author, a film producer, entrepreneur, and women's rights activist. Her accomplishments are many, but my favorite thing about Masoura is her heart. It's huge and giving, and she never stops looking for a way to make an impact. Welcome, Masoura.
There's so much love in this room tonight. It's the one time in a year that we can all get together and celebrate all the hard work of these women and men that support us. And some of my heroes, my personal life heroes, are in this room tonight, so it's really exciting for me to be here with you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. On January 10th of this year, there was a terrorist attack at the provincial governor's guest house in Kandahar as he hosted a delegation from the United Arab Emirates. The delegation was on a humanitarian mission and had just laid the foundation stone of an orphanage earlier that day. 5 Emirati diplomats and 6 Afghan nationals were killed in the attack that also wounded 18 others. In this same attack, His Excellency Muhammad Abdullah Al-Kabi was wounded. His Excellency had been appointed as the UAE Chargé d'Affaires in Kabul for several years and later became ambassador to Afghanistan. On February 15th, he succumbed to his wounds and died at the age of 51. The late ambassador is survived by his wife, 2 sons, 3 daughters, 2 brothers, 6 sisters, and his mother. A true friend of the Afghan people, he worked tirelessly to strengthen the relationship between the countries at a critical time in the history of Afghanistan. Supported by the generous leaders of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of the UAE and the ruler of Abu Dhabi, and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Prime Minister of the UAE and the ruler of Dubai, he helped to deliver support for the UAE to Afghanistan, something even President Trump mentioned on his recent Middle East trip. Because my family is from Kandahar and I'm an American living in Dubai, the UAE's important work has very special meaning for me. Today, accepting the Legacy Award on behalf of the late ambassador's family and on behalf of the UAE is Her Excellency Mrs. Lana Nusebi, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the United Arab Emirates to the United Nations in New York. The posthumous award honors the achievements of the late ambassador, as well as those attained by Afghan and Muslim women on a global scale. Ambassador Nusebi's achievements are far too long to list in this time allotted to introduce this amazing woman. I can tell you that she is extremely accomplished, having received the UAE's Medal of Pride, and she currently serves as the president of the UN Women Executive Board. And having just chatted with her at the table, I can tell you she's as real as it gets. She has played a key role in institution building in the UAE and in defining policy and the future of a country that has offered nothing but support and goodwill to Afghanistan. Your Excellency, Ambassador, thank you for accepting this award and for accepting Women for Afghan Women's sincerest condolences for a man who was not only of great service to your country, but also to Afghanistan. To His Excellency Muhammad Abdullah Al-Kabi's family, we are so profoundly sorry for your loss and ask that you accept this award from us as a badge of honor for your esteemed family. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone, Masura, for the kind words and for this award this evening. I humbly accept the award that honors the life and work of a colleague of mine, the late Ambassador Juma' Muhammad Abdullah Al-Ka'bi, on behalf of His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. As Masura has said, tragically, Ambassador Al-Ka'bi made the ultimate sacrifice in the course of his work for the UAE Foreign Ministry and gave his life in service of peace this year in the attack in Kandahar. And along with Ambassador Al-Ka'bi, 5 Emirati aid workers also lost their lives in the bombing. Muhammad Ali Bastaki, Abdullah Muhammad Al-Ka'bi, Ahmed Rashid Al-Mazrou'i, Ahmed Abdul Rahman Al-Tunaiji, and Abdul Hamid Sultan Al-Hammadi. Our UAE delegation was there that day in the long tradition of partnership with Afghanistan to lay the cornerstone of the Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan orphanage and to sign an agreement with the university to fund academic scholarships for students. While our country and the family of the late ambassador, including his wife and 5 children, continue to mourn his tragic passing, we are also proud of his lifetime commitment to the humanitarian legacy of the United Arab Emirates. The Crown Prince of the United Arab Emirates, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, praised Ambassador Al-Ka'bi as a humanitarian ambassador and noted that he embodied the noblest notions of generosity and loyalty. It is this, the ambassador's great achievements and his life's work as a diplomat and a humanitarian, that I would like to pay tribute to today on behalf of all those who loved him and all of those who were honored to know and serve with him in the UAE, in Afghanistan, and throughout the world. As many of you know, Ambassador Al-Ka'bi was devoted to peace in Afghanistan and worked tirelessly to support the nation's efforts and those of the many communities that he knew so well. In fact, Afghanistan's ambassador to the UAE, Abdul Farid Zikriya, said that Ambassador Al-Ka'bi knew everyone in Afghanistan. He was intimately involved in establishing educational opportunities for young Afghans, as well as facilitating the development of Afghanistan's agricultural sector. The relationship between the UAE and Afghanistan is a particularly close one. We are powerfully bonded by our shared history, tradition, and culture. And Ambassador Al-Ka'bi knew that perhaps better than any of us. The trust that he was able to build and sustain during the many years that he was there is both a result of and a testament to the special relationship between our two peoples. As a diplomat devoted to humanitarian work, Ambassador Al-Ka'bi's deep commitment to the Afghan people is reflective of the UAE's lasting pledge of partnership to the country. The UAE will always be in Afghanistan to help and support those in need. And it is our aspiration that future Emirati diplomats, along with other important civil society institutions, like Women for Afghan Women, will carry forward Ambassador Al-Ka'bi's legacy, working with great impact for women and families across Afghanistan. I myself visited Afghanistan in 2009 and carry with me a lasting impression of the warmth and generosity of the Afghani people, which has very much been reflected in all my interactions this evening, and I'd like to thank you for that incredibly warm hospitality on the eve right before the start of the holy month of Ramadan, which has made me feel so much at home. Let me close here and thank Women for Afghan Women for celebrating the life and work of a wonderful husband and father, a dedicated diplomat, a true humanitarian, and a proud son of the United Arab Emirates. I'd also like to give special thanks to the Executive Director, Maniza Nadiri, for her excellent leadership of Women for Afghan Women, and to the organization's very active Board of Directors. We were honored to have had him among us, even though for too short a time, and his memory lives on all of our efforts to realize the potential of the people in Afghanistan in partnership with them. Thank you for this honor.
I hope the tummies are full and wallets a little lighter. Before we move to our next award, it's with great honor to introduce an Afghan lady who has risen from refugee child to a powerhouse entrepreneur and activist to create the space for other Afghan women to rise. Among her many achievements, Ferishteh Farrow is founder and president of Code to Inspire, the first coding school for girls in Afghanistan, which has created a niche for Afghan women to excel in technical literacy and to insert themselves as dynamic players in a high-demand, high-tech world. Born a refugee in Iran, Ferishteh returned to Afghanistan to earn a bachelor's degree in computer science from Herat University, and later a master's degree on scholarship at the Technical University of Berlin. Before Code to Inspire, she taught as a computer science professor at Herat University and has been featured as a speaker in TED Talk at the Clinton Global Initiative. Ferishteh has worked tirelessly to bridge the digital gender divide by providing young women with critical programming proficiencies and equipping them with the skills to add a unique value to their communities, and as importantly, to inspire young women to achieve social and financial independence. She stands with courage on the front lines in Afghanistan and is an unyielding voice in advocating for social change through technology. For us, Ferishteh is an ideal role model for our women and girls and an embodiment of Afghan women rising. It is with great delight that I present Ferishteh Farrow with this year's Malala Kakar Human Rights Award.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But good evening, everyone. I'm so honored and such a pleasure to receive such an honorable award and in such an amazing and inspiring event. I would like to share a saying from Rumi, the Persian poet, who said, "Where there is ruin, there is hope for a treasure." My mother is my inspiration. As a refugee born, she could how to make dresses, so she could bring income to the families and could help us to go to school and buy school supplies. So through her inspirations and through her achievements, I learned how to be an entrepreneur and chase my own dreams and create what I love. And also I learned that with empty hands, you can start great things and you can make great things happen. So I just want to say that based on my experience, I can say that knowledge is power and technology is a tool for this empowerment. That's what made me to become a global citizen of the world without thinking of geographical barriers. And that's how it empowers me to empower other girls in Afghanistan. I believed in my dreams and I believed in myself and I made them happen. And that's the spirit of an Afghan girl that I want to show the world, and I want to tell them that they're capable of making impossibles possible. Thank you very much.